from BBMacs.
Welcome to our show.
Today we're going to be speaking about America's 250th birthday. Yay!
Yeah, in July.
Yes, this coming July. I'm going to start by speaking about a comment that George Washington made during his first inaugural address. The preservation of the sacred fire of liberty and the destiny of the Republican model of government are justly considered as being staked on the experiment entrusted to the hands of the American people. And that's what it is, and it's an experiment.
No other government was ever made like this, set up this way.
Yep. It was ideas about doing something like this were swirling around in Europe for many years before the American Revolution, but nobody could really do anything about it. They couldn't do anything. They didn't have the money or the arms or anything like that to do anything. So America was the first one to try to do something like that. Now the ideas, as I had said, have been swirling around there, and one of the philosophers, Locke, he firmly rejected the idea that kings ruled by divine right and had insisted that legitimate government could exist only with the
consent of the governed.
Exactly, and that's precisely what's in the Declaration of Independence. Consent of the governed, very important. And the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution are not very long articles. People need to read them. To really read them, become more familiar with them. It's very important, especially with the 250th birthday coming up, right? And it's all right here. It's all right here. Both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution are in this little booklet right here. So it isn't very long. It's some convoluted language at times, I think. But
well, it's the old school language.
Right. But it's not very much to read. It doesn't take very long to read. Very important for people to do that, especially with our birthday coming up. And in the Constitution, we've only had one. Well, we did have the Articles of Confederation, but they figured out that wasn't working. So they needed to have a Constitution, but we've only had one. There's been several countries in South America primarily that have a constitution, and somebody comes along and gets in power and they don't like it, they rip it up. That's not good.
Then that makes you have to start from square one all over again.
And you keep doing it again and again, and you have 4 or 5 constitutions. It's not good. It's better to have one constitution, which we did, and you can amend it. You can amend that. If you say, okay, we should change this or that, you can amend it. But you need to keep the one constitution, right?
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
It's a firm foundation.
Yes, very firm foundation, right, good, yeah. And it's based on natural law, and what is that?
That's the law from your conscience from within that lets you know that stealing and murder and such is very wrong.
Right, it doesn't need to be written down, you just know it. You know that's not right to do, and that's what it's based upon, basically, based on that. Now, it's based on, as I said, natural law, our conscience, the interior space in which we can listen to and hear the truth, the good, the voice of God. Now, whether you believe in God or not, you know it's there. You know it's in your mind, what's right and wrong. We need to pay more attention to that.
Yes, we do.
Yes, that and the golden rule. People need to pay more attention to your conscience and actually try to go out and live by the golden rule, truly live by it. You ask people, oh, of course I do. Then there's little things here and there. That's not really the golden rule. We need to pay more attention, us included, right?
Everybody, because no one's perfect.
Right, yep. And our revolution inspired the French to have their own revolution. They saw what we had done, and they were thrilled with that. And they had their own revolution, I think in 1789. They got rid of the king, but then they couldn't get together on doing things.
The people that ended up overthrowing the king, unfortunately, got all with this power and control thing.
Yep, and they it overwhelmed their conscience on doing what was the right thing, and the love of money, not necessarily money in this situation, but power and control overcame their conscience and ended up with the reign, what was called the Reign of Terror. And there was, how many people were executed?
Thousands.
17,000 people, yeah.
They were accused of being enemies of the state.
Yep, and they were executed. And it just didn't work out well for them. But they saw what we had done, and they were happy basically with what we'd done. But one thing that they didn't like was
we still had slavery.
Yes, so they were keeping an eye on that, and they were While they were doing that, they were trying to emulate. They tried for a long time to emulate what we had done. And they ended up with Napoleon. That didn't work out too well for them either. But then they saw that we had abolished slavery. That was huge for them. And what did that do?
That inspired them to give us the Statue of Liberty, which is the Liberty Enlightening the World.
Is the actual name of the statue, yeah. We got a cool little replica of it here. We went there in, what was it, June of 2020?
It was a few years ago.
Yeah, sometime in June, a couple years ago. It was really cool. One thing that people don't notice that much, though, on the statue itself, because you don't get to get up there high enough to see it. But around the bottom there's a broken chain and shackle symbolizing the
abolishing slavery.
Yes, that was very important to the French people. So they saw that we had done what we had done and what we could do, and they're very important. And that's how we became the land of opportunity. People wanted to come here. They got out of their, they were trapped in a sense in their countries that you couldn't go up. If you were born poor, you stayed poor. If you were
no status climbing.
Right. If you were born rich or had a lot of status when you were born, you stayed that way. And in America, you could make your own way. And that's why we became the land of opportunity. People wanted to come here for that, give their children a better chance for a better life. That's the biggest thing. That's the most basic thing there. Now, the French saw that we had a solid foundation, but what does the foundation need?
It needs to be built upon and improved.
Right, and maintained. And not just, they can't just say, okay, that's it, we're done. That's good? No, the Founding Fathers built us a solid foundation. That's what we need to work upon in doing. And that's part of the 250th birthday, celebrating that, and let's see what else we can do to improve it. Now, it said the broken chain. Okay, the French were hoping that we could lead by example and become the land of opportunity. Now, the people of France paid for the statue themselves. Not the government of France, the people of France paid for the statue themselves, and they actually built it over there. How tall is it?
The statue itself is 151 feet.
151 feet. And this is back in the mid-1800s when they did that. They didn't have
They didn't have cranes or anything else to be lifting the big parts and things.
Yeah, they actually did that by hand, a lot of it by hand. 151 feet. That's amazing. And then they took it apart
to ship it
here. And they had to build all the crates to put it in, and they didn't have the automatic hammers. No, it's build it by hand.
No nail guns or anything.
Yeah, right. So they built it by hand to ship it over here. And the U.S. government paid or donated the island for it. They had owned, I believe it was called Bedloe Island before. Now it's known as Liberty Island, but that's the island. The federal government donated that, but the people of America donated the money for building the pedestal that the statue is on. And it was dedicated on October 28th, 1886. And what happened that morning? Because the dedication itself ceremony was in the afternoon.
And it was
what happened
the
in the morning?
first ticker tape parade.
Yes, all the people on Wall Street, the parade wound around the streets of New York City, and it went by the Wall Street offices, and the people up in the offices were all thrilled and happy and everything. They said, well, what can we do? Hey, let's take the ticker tape and throw it out the window. And that's where the ticker tape parade came from. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And there are replicas of the Statue of Liberty all around the world, and it shows how we need to lead by example. That's what people are expecting. People are hoping. Liberty enlightening the world. That's what we want to do. It's human nature. You want to do things, good things, and it's better that way. So liberty enlightening the world. We can do this, but we need to work together. Now, there's somebody that, as speaking of replicas, Ho Chi Minh, the leader of Vietnam in the late 50s and so on.
He was very frustrated because he wanted his country to be independent. And when we had allies with France, so we ended up taking their side, and he was like, what is the statue standing on her head?
Right, he couldn't believe that America had sided with the French. That was a difficult decision because we had just gone through World War II with the French as allies, And now, what do you do? But that's very difficult.
We maybe should have stayed out of it. I don't know, but
Yeah, what's done is done.
he was frustrated
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it.
But that just shows how important it is for the basic foundation that our country was built upon. This is what people look at, and this is what is great for humanity when you have this kind of a setup. And we need to work on that. And everybody needs to do their part. It's not just, oh, I can't do anything about it. Yes, you can. Consult your conscience and live by the golden rule. And that will help. That will be a big help.
I'll do it together.
Right.
That's
We all
how
work
it can be
together.
done.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And again, the French saw that we had a solid foundation. We need to continue to build and repair that, not tear it down just because some things are wrong. No, you don't tear it down. You fix it. You repair it. You don't start from scratch again. And then the rancor and bitterness of what we're having today had something similar in the back when the founding fathers discovered that, or determined that the Articles of Confederation were not strong enough to keep the country together. They decided, well, okay, we really can't just amend that. We got to start from scratch all over again. So they had the Constitutional Convention. And where was that?
That was in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania.
Summer of 1787, yep.
And they didn't have air conditioning, but they didn't want people eavesdropping either. And they may have had differences of opinions, but they worked together. They had the windows closed because they wanted it to be a discussion of them working together to help the good of the country.
Right, right. They didn't want people, sneaking in, or not sneaking in, listening in to what they were having to say. So they closed the windows in the summer of in Philadelphia in 1787. No AC, but they did it. They did it, and it was not necessarily liberals and conservatives, but it was small states and large states. Instead of bashing each other, they agreed to disagree and compromise, and that's what happened back in the 1787, the Constitutional Convention. We can do that again. You don't have to bash each other all the time.
Yeah.
Work together.
Yeah, and they didn't agree on every little point, but they
Right.
worked together, and they found out a way to make it work.
Yes, yes, and we really need to defeat our common enemies. Instead of bashing each other, we need to work together to defeat our common enemies, which are rancor and bitterness and divisiveness. Right now, they're winning because that's all we're doing is bashing each other. We need to do more working together. We should be dancing in the streets with all the amenities and everything we have nowadays. We should be having a great time.
All the inventions and all the new ideas.
Right, electricity, running water, all the things that we have now that we didn't have 200 years ago. We've got it made in the shade. And what are we doing?
Yeah.
Bashing each other.
And not appreciating it.
Yeah, it's not good. Not good. And that's why we have on our logo, if you see a logo on our show, that's us on our wedding day. And what was that day?
The luckiest day of our lives when we met each other.
When we met, yes, that was the luckiest day of our lives. And then the wedding it just shows how much more fun it is to be happy when you're happy. Do you want to hang around with
Grouch people, you just like...
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun. And everybody, you may say, well, if we're all grouchy about the same thing, it's just not good. It doesn't get you anywhere. Bashing doesn't get you anywhere. You have one person on one side saying, I'll give you 5 good reasons you should change your mind and agree with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 very good reasons. Guy on the other side says, oh yeah, I'll give you 5 good reasons why you should agree with me instead. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 very good reasons right there. But what does that result in? Bashing. That's all they do.
It's not good.
Bashing.
You don't get anything accomplished that way.
The definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. And both sides, too many people on both sides are saying, well, if I do this long enough, we'll win eventually. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Not going to happen. You've got to compromise. That's what you have to do. We can do this. We can do this. Everybody knows that there's a problem. When everybody waits for, and anybody can do anything about it, but when they all wait for
somebody, it ends up being nobody.
And that's
because
not
they're
good.
all stepping back and not doing anything.
Right,
not
right.
helping.
So it's easier to just, that doesn't help. What can you do? What can you do to help this situation. Consult your conscience more often and live by the golden rule. And take the time to say, how can I listen to this person and find common ground on this? We both have the same kind of the same basic goal, but we just approach it differently. I mean, listen to him. Listen to what they have to say. And I never thought of it that way.
You can be surprised if you talk to somebody who's supposedly on the opposite end of anything, and you talk to each other, you'd be surprised how many mutual things that you can agree with.
Yes, yeah. So we're going to close today with a quote from Harriet Tubman, somebody that went through a lot.
Oh, she was a great woman.
Yes, yeah, she was a slave and she escaped. And she went back to help others escape. And she said, always remember that you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars and change the world.
Yeah.
And we can do this. We really can do this. Have positive, empowering thoughts on this instead of the automatic negative thoughts of, oh, it'll never happen. Think positive.
Exactly.
What can I do to help the situation? And there's lots of things you can do. So we'll finally close with a quote from President Kennedy. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And what you can do for your country is step up to the plate and get involved and help us have a great celebration of the 250th birthday.
Yes.
Happy birthday, America.
Happy birthday, America.